Hi, I'm Tara Barnes, health educator for CalFresh Healthy Living at the Children's Collective, and welcome back to our Healthy Happy Families preschool curriculum for parents. We are going into lesson 4, and the topic is encouraging positive behavior. I do hope you find this information beneficial as a parent, so that way you have some tips and some ways that you can help support your child's growth. So we'll go ahead and start. I'm going to stop sharing my slide. And so to recap our lesson from lesson 3, we talked about understanding that each child's growth is unique, as well as parents learn what to do to ensure that their child is growing properly. There was also an at-home activity called Watching Children Grow, where you would make a growth chart by measuring your child's growth over time. So you would, take a pencil or a marker or pen or writing tool of some sort, have your child lean against the wall or the inside of a door frame, and you would mark their height at that time, including the date. So that way you know when you chart, when you measure them. And it's a great way to keep track of their growth over time. It's also a great way for kids to see their growth as well as moments of when their growth slows down. So you can, probably keep track of that maybe on a monthly basis or however frequent you want, but it's a great way to chart their growth. So as always, we include MyPlate within our presentations. Again, MyPlate is from the USDA, and it provides a guideline of our portion sizes for children as well as adults. And it's a reminder to make half your plates fruits and vegetables, making half the grains that you eat in a day, whole grains. And again, you want to look at the label on the packaging. You want it to say 100% whole grains. You also want the ingredients list to list whole grain or whole wheat on the ingredients label. You also want to incorporate protein into your diet and dairy or dairy alternative foods. If you like more information, again, you can go to choosemyplate.gov to get more information on MyPlate and more useful tips. So for today's class, the objectives are that parents will understand the importance of using words instead of food to praise their children's good behavior. They will also learn how to encourage positive behavior within their children. All parents would love to know the secret to getting children to behave. Unfortunately, there's no magic trick. No one was born with a manual, and so it's kind of a learn as you go, especially for first-time parents. So, the more information you can get, hopefully it will be more beneficial to you as as you parent your child. So we do hope that even though this lesson is fairly short, that you will walk away with some good information that can help you. So all children misbehave at some point, as this is a normal part of their development and independence. So you're going to see times where your child will tell you no, or they're have tantrums, or they have difficult days, and that's normal. That's all of us, all humans. We have our moments of happiness as well as times of struggle, and so kids are no different. So understand that they too have moments of misbehavior, but that's also a part of their development and independence. However, if parents understand the reasons for these misbehaviors, it can actually be a little easier to control. So the more you understand that, okay, your child is actually going through these different phases because they are, in preschool age, in their preschool age years, they are, developing and they're going through, different growth milestones. So the more you're aware of that, and you can know what to look out for, the better it is to control their behavior, their misbehavior. Young children's misbehavior usually happens during times of feeling tired, hungry, even scared or ignored. So you may notice that if if it's getting close to their bedtime, that you may start noticing your child, beginning to feel cranky or, just irritated. The same could happen even when they're hungry. So understanding your child's moods and cues is also a great way to help manage their misbehavior. Parents can also avoid misbehavior by structuring predictable routines that help to avoid these feelings. So if you know that, your child's bedtime is say 7:30 and that by, 6 they start to get kind of cranky or irritable, then maybe you should start, you can focus on creating a routine that can help ease them into that process. So maybe, if it's by 6:30, they get a bath or brush your teeth, and then you may lead into a story, a bedtime story that can help, calm them down and get them in a more calm state, in a more relaxed state, so that way they can be ready for bedtime. So again, paying attention um, to their cues, so that you can try to prevent the the negative behavior from happening in the first place. So, even if that means setting up schedules and having routines, that could really help to reduce the likelihood of challenging behaviors from happening. Parents can also avoid misbehavior in their children by teaching them about acceptable behaviors. So letting them know what's acceptable, what they can do, and then letting them know or redirecting them when they misbehave. Give them other tools so that way they can know how to, or they'll be more confident in doing more of the positive or having more positive behavior versus negative. Punishing children only teaches them how not to behave. So when you're punishing children, it's not really rectifying what they did. It's not teaching them to not do what they did that led to the punishment. So we're going to go through a couple of ways that you can actually um, praise your children, and that way they start to develop those behaviors, or the more positive behaviors. So that way the misbehaviors will be reduced. Rewarding children teaches them about proper behaviors and they learn faster. And praise is a good reward to use instead of food because it also teaches children that they are special and loved. So you want to, do both. You want to reward children with, hugs and giving kisses, high fives, good jobs, using words, and that praise over time will really help the child to feel like they're connected, they're connected to their loved ones, that they are loved by their loved ones, and that they feel special. Catching children behaving well and then rewarding them with praise helps them to feel good about themselves. And it also encourages them to repeat the behavior in the future. So kids like to be recognized or rewarded. So the more you identify or notice um, when they're displaying positive behavior, reward them with words, encourage them. So that way you increase their likelihood of repeating those behaviors, those good behaviors over time. So our message for this lesson is praise children with words and not food. Again, that's pretty much our whole topic for lesson 4. Children sometimes misbehave to get attention. Parents can turn that around by praising good behaviors. So try not to pay attention to the negative behavior, at all times. Sometimes you have to if it's, if safety is a huge concern, but you want to try to find those positive behaviors. So I have an example. If you have a child that, for months and months and months, they refuse to put their put on their pajamas by themselves. And then at some point you see that they are willing to actually, maybe put on their t-shirt, their pajama top by themselves. Acknowledge that by telling them, good job, I liked how you put your pajamas on. I didn't even ask you. Good job. And the more you do those things, then they realize that, oh, I actually did the right thing and I actually got rewarded for it. And that was, I made my mom happy. I made my dad happy because I put my pajamas on by myself. And you didn't even have to really do it for them. So when you see them doing small little things, it can be something as small as just, saying, thank you or anything small, but just highlighting those positive behaviors more than likely can help those behaviors to reoccur versus the negative. So here are some reasons to praise with words instead of food. One is that children should only eat when they are hungry. You should really try to avoid overfeeding your child or your children, and not listening to them. So if they tell you they're not hungry, it's good to respect that because they know their bodies just like we as adults know our bodies, and we know when we're full. I like to use the example, which I probably have in a previous lesson, like with infants. Infants, even if they're breastfeeding, they get full, and when they're full, they will turn their head away, or if they're drinking from a bottle, they may push the bottle away. So babies even know when they're full and that they shouldn't be forced to eat anymore, because if they do, they'll probably throw up. So you don't want to have your child see food as a way that that they have to eat even when they're not hungry. It just teaches them to have a negative relationship with food. So only allow your children to eat when they're hungry. Giving rewards for children eating everything on their plate can teach them to overeat. And it's not, again, not a healthy way to have kids see food, that they have to eat everything. Even if they're full, they're forcing themselves to eat. And that can lead to issues down the line with eating disorders, as well as overeating, obesity, and just a negative response to food. So again, try to avoid using food as a way to reward your children. And I hope this is more, going through this, it kind of gives you a better understanding why it's important to not praise with food. Comforting children with food teaches them to use food to feel good on the inside. Again, that can lead to overeating. It can lead to eating disorders. It can also just teach the child that they have to rely on food to feel good inside. And we know that that's not the case. We want them to see food as enjoyment, but also for nourishment, and not something that they have to cope with whatever stressors or challenges they may be going through at the moment. Children also need to learn to eat when they're hungry. Again, they learn that over time, only when they're hungry, but it's also your job as a parent to recognize the cues when they are showing signs of not being hungry, so that way they're not overeating. Praising with food teaches children to like treats better than healthy foods. So again, a lot of times children are praised with cookies and candies and sweet treats. And once in a while, those things aren't bad in like small amounts, but to use that as a way to get them to do something positive teaches them to actually like those foods more so than healthier foods like fruits and vegetables. Again, we want to set our kids up on a path of healthy lifestyle, so that way they can have those skills as they continue to get older, that they'll be able to make the right choices for themselves. So the more you're able to instill those skills, or those that ability for them to enjoy healthier foods early on, that increases the chances of them liking those foods as they get older, and then making healthy choices, even when they're out, on their own, even when they're teenagers. So we want to make lifelong healthy, healthy abilities in our kids. We want them to be able to have these skills for their lifetime. And again, by you recognizing those cues of when they're, feeling anxious or stressed out or feeling challenged, the more you can be in tune with that and know how to address those issues before the bad behavior starts, the better it is for them to not do that behavior if you catch it sooner. I hope that makes sense. So this would be an activity that I would ask the group if we were all, sitting in this virtual class together, or if we were in person. And the question is just to please share ideas about how you praise and encourage positive behavior within your children. Some people may take their kids, may go for take them to the park if they do something that's positive, or you may reward them with watching a special TV show. You may reward them with a special fruit, or selecting a special dish or item for dinner. So there's a variety of ways that, you're probably encouraging positive behavior within your kids. So one question that we have for you is, why do you think parents should not reward with food? We talked about a few things so far, and within this little chart, I'll say, or grid, there are more than one answers, and I hope that when I reveal them, you will realize that hopefully you were correct. So the first one is, children learn to like treats better than healthy foods, which is one reason why we should not reward them with food. Another reason is, children should only eat when they are hungry. Like I mentioned not too long ago, they should only eat when they're hungry. If they're full, they should not be expected to continue to eat. And it's, and withholding things for them to drink when they're eating is another issue that could create a problem with your child in food, and again could force them to overeat. So allow them to have breaks where, while they're eating, to sip on water or sip on milk, so that way they're actually getting those nutrients as well. Rewarding children with food teaches them to use food to feel good on the inside. And again, like I said, it can establish unhealthy relationship between the child and your food, and not just in their formative years now, but as they continue to get older, and that can lead into even food disorders. So you want to make sure that your kids are being praised with your words and not with food items. So here's another question. Besides using food, what is one way that you will praise your or encourage your children? And so that could be a variety of ways. Like I had mentioned, maybe taking them on a special trip, maybe allowing them to help you prepare their favorite meal. There's so many things they can read. Maybe you'll read their special or favorite book that they can choose for bedtime. There's so many ways that you can encourage your child without using food. So some additional ways that you can encourage positive behavior is, say, for instance, these are all examples. Say if you go to the grocery store, you can, and you're with your child, and you say, "Oh, Carla, you were such a good helper while we were in the store." That little sentence is a sentence of praise. It didn't include any type of candy or cookies or anything, or any type of food reward. It was just your words, and that in itself can go a long way with your child. During meal times, maybe say something like, "Sam, you're taking turns at serving." That's excellent. So again, in praising him for the positive things that he did, he's taking turns, he's being patient. He passed the, bowl of fruit to someone else at the table. That's a wonderful, wonderful way, a wonderful time to praise your child with words. Say if you're waiting in line at a grocery store or at the bank, and you can tell your child, "You didn't fuss while we waited. Good job." That's wonderful. Just that little statement again can go a long way, so that the next time you go to the grocery store or you're in a long line someplace, they'll know how to be in that line without fussing. And again, by you acknowledging that by saying "good job," or "I'm glad you were patient," or "I'm glad you waited," that goes a long way in instilling patience in your child as well. Helping with dinner, you can say something like, "Wow, you were such a great table setter. Look how nice you made it look." Again, positive reward, and it had nothing to do with food. And even exploring new foods. So even if you have, a picky eater, you may say, "Oh, this is so terrific. You tasted the casserole." You may have a little eater who doesn't like certain things, but that particular meal, they actually ate some of the casserole that you prepared. Acknowledge that. Say "good job." Say, "Oh, I'm so excited that you tried the casserole, or you like the soup." So point out those small little things that you see your kids doing that at some point you've noticed was actually a struggle for them. So some things that you can do is praise is reward for good behavior, and children learn faster when they are praised instead of punished. So what you can do is use praise. Catch your children using good behavior and praise them for those good behaviors. Try to avoid acknowledging the negative all the time. Try to focus on the good behavior. Like I said, it can be the smallest thing. It can be them just, you know, um, getting up and helping to make their bed. If you have, a 3 or 4 year old and, maybe they usually fuss in the morning and don't want to do it, but this particular morning they got up and they actually, started making their bed. Oh my God, that's so exciting. Really praise them for that because that's a behavior that you want to see more of. And by you praising them because of that, chances are they're going to do it again. And also spend time together. Praise them by playing games, such as or playing cards or doing things like singing and doing crafts. Those are great ways to praise your child without using food as a reward. Also plan ahead. Bring along healthy snacks when you're leaving the house for long periods of time. This helps to prevent your child from requesting unhealthy foods when you're out, and it can reduce the likelihood of them overeating when it is time to have a meal. So you may want to take along some healthy snacks like crackers or sliced fruit and some water or 100% fruit juice for them to have. So that way they're nourished throughout the time that you're away, but they're not overeating. And they're also eating healthy foods that provide them with appropriate vitamins and nutrients. And also be consistent. Use the same rewards each time. And, as your child, develops skills and continue to grow, you may have to, switch up the reward because of their development at the time. However, being consistent is really important for preschoolers, and having just a routine is very, very important. So spending time with you is more fun for your children than eating sweet treats, believe it or not. This treasure box activity helps your children behave by giving healthy rewards that they will enjoy. So for this treasure box activity that you can do at home, what you'll need is a small box or a can with a lid, some paper and markers or crayons. And what you do is decorate the box or can, and that's a great activity for your child. Let them help decorate. Let them decorate it. Make a list of the activities you will enjoy doing together, such as playing ball, reading a book, singing a song, going to the park, or any other activity or thing that you want to do. Cut the list into strips and list one activity on each piece of paper. And then you'll put the activity strips into the box or can. And every time you want to recognize a positive behavior, let your child draw an activity from that box and then you guys do it. So if your child, after dinner, they went and put their dishes in the sink or in the dishwasher, then, that will be a great time to allow them to pull from the can and, select an activity that they'd like to do. So that's very, very simple. Doesn't take much time. And it's a great activity to do with your kid. And it's a good way to see what they like to do, to get an idea of things that they like to do. And it just helps to bring, you closer to your child by doing things that they enjoy. So we have reached the end of our lesson, and I like to end my classes with a little movement. I'm going to see if my spin wheel will work. It's giving me a hard time lately, so we'll see if it works so that I can demonstrate each of these moves for you. And I'm going to spin the wheel now. Stop. And I'm going to share my screen now. And so we have 8 squat jumps. I'm going to roll my chair back. I'm hoping you can see me. So squat jumps and squat. Squat down, jump up. Squat down, jump up. You want to have your feet kind of hip width apart, and you squat, and then you jump. So you do 8 of those. Our next one is 5 wall squats. And a wall squat. I'm going to pretend that I'm leaning against a wall, and I'm going to just squat and hold it for 3 seconds, and then come up. Hold it down again, hold it for 3 seconds, come up, and again. I should have my back straighter, but I'm actually leaning against a wall, so I should be straight. I'm going to demonstrate one more time. Come back. Okay, and then run in place for 15 seconds. If I can get on the screen, and that's just running in place for 15 seconds. Get your blood flowing. And I want to be able to be on my screen, so I'm gonna squat in like this. Okay. So we're now at the end of lesson 4. Again, we always include this injustice for all discrimination complaint form at the end of each of our lessons. If you feel the need to file a complaint, again, you can go to the link that's listed in blue on the slide, or you can call the USDA office and make a complaint at the number listed, or you can mail your complaint to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So that concludes lesson 4 of our Healthy Happy Families preschool curriculum. That topic was encouraging positive behavior. Our next lesson is child's play. So we'll teach you about the importance of play for preschoolers, why it's necessary. And I hope you can join me for that. Again, if you need more information or you like more information, you can go to calfreshhealthyliving.org or TCCI Wellness, and they both provide a lot of information and resources for parents. So until next time, I thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.